Oh, hello. You may be wondering why I have this annoyed expression on my face. Well, I'll tell you why. Years ago, I got an audio video receiver, for our sound for the TV in the den. Then, about a year ago, or 2 years actually, my cat, Avery, peed on it while I was playing a VR game. Now, I would have never expected this because it had been there for about 6 months before and he didn't decide to do it then. But he thought it was a good idea on that day of all days to do it. Now, as soon as he did it, I made sure to unplug the device, leave it unplugged, wipe it as best as I possibly could, try to clean it with isopropyl alcohol, everything I could, and just let it sit there and then eventually turn it back on about the next day, hoping that any of the mineral deposits in the urine wouldn't damage any of the internal components. And at first, things seemed to be all right. Buttons were working, the remote was working. It seemed okay. I thought I did everything I needed to do. But then, things started to act funky about a few months later. It all started when the onboard buttons on the AV receiver were not responding to my inputs, which was really annoying. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, the remote wouldn't communicate with the receiver like it used to. So that was annoying too. And now, in recent developments, just a few days ago, the sound keeps on cutting out and switching to different sound modes on the television. As you can imagine, trying to watch anything while the sound keeps cutting out and switching to different sound modes takes you out of the experience. So, I'm at crossroads. Should I try to do what I can to reset the receiver and see if that might help? Should I unplug it, take it apart, and then shoot compressed air on it, because maybe dust buildup over time because it has vents on the top has caused it to underperform? Or should I just get a new one? These are really pressing questions. I was watching videos online on what people were doing if their receiver was acting funky or out of line. One of them suggested turn the device off and then leave it off for half an hour, and that'll give the transformers inside of the device some time to properly reset and recalibrate, and then turn the device back on again. So, as soon as I get the chance, I'm going to do that and see if that works. Because the idea of having to unplug everything from the device and then unscrew everything and then try my best to clean it with compressed air. I mean, if I have to do it, I'll do it. Like, I'll do anything I can before dropping cash on a new one. And it ain't cheap either. The cheapest I found was $460. So I guess the lesson is, if you're going to be playing a virtual reality game and your cat's in the house, keep your cat outside of the room that you're playing the game on, because you never know if they just randomly decide it's a good idea to pee on the $500 AV receiver, causing many problems later on. So that's the big annoyance right now. What about the day? Can I really say anything interesting that happened? No progress once again was made on the second YouTube channel. I'm hoping tomorrow I can change that tune. I wanted to work on the second YouTube channel as soon as I got home from work. But our family friend was browsing Netflix and found a film called Hitchcock, which is about the tumultuous development of the film Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. And I am a huge film fan, and I genuinely was interested in watching that with our family friend and my mom. So I decided, what the heck? It's only 2 hours, and then I can get to work on my project. And that's when the AV receiver issues reared their ugly head. Over and over again, the sound would be cutting out and switching around. We tried to disconnect external Bluetooth devices to the device. We tried to turn it off and turn it on again. And no matter what we did, it just kept on giving us those annoying issues. And the weird thing is, it happens randomly. For extended periods, the playback is just fine. But then, randomly, every 20 or 30 minutes, it decides to flip out for no apparent reason, other than perhaps maybe some damage to the inputs inside the device. I can't really say for sure. But yeah, that extended the time it took to watch the film. And then my sister gave a call, and we had a lovely chat, and I always enjoy that, and I'm grateful for that, because it's not every day I get to talk to my eldest sister. She was telling us about her life and how things are going. But one of the coolest things she said was she met with Elijah Wood and the guys who played Merry and Pippin from the film Lord of the Rings. And she proved this by having a picture taken of her with them. And that was really cool to see. Yeah, who would have thunk that she'd ever meet those guys? But it was cool she was able to, because they really made her childhood my childhood, because they were in these films that we watched a lot when we were younger and we deeply enjoyed. So yeah, it was really cool to see. Yeah, but now it's like 11:16 at night. I'm really tired. I wish I could just truck through and splurge on about 2 hours of work on my channel, but that doesn't look like it's gonna happen. I think I'm just gonna take my vitamins, I'm gonna brush my teeth, I'm gonna go to bed. I folded my clothes. I need to put the clothes away. Yeah. And I was watching an interesting video on YouTube during my lunch break, taking place at the Desert UFO Conference, where apparently psychic abilities were being demonstrated by a nonverbal autistic savant daughter and her mother. where apparently the mother could detect what her child was seeing, and she could say what her child was seeing to the audience. And they demonstrated this by having different colors shown on like these sheets of paper. So like yellow, greenish yellow, red, blue. And they basically demonstrated it through that. And then afterwards, they demonstrated those savant psychic abilities by having random members of the audience draw or write something in a specific colored pen or marker, and then seeing if the mom could detect what they illustrated or wrote. And I want to say that seemed interesting, and I'd really love to believe that. But there's another part of me that's like, I mean, they did make a point to say, look, guys, she doesn't have any person telling her what's going on in her ear, like an earpiece that they can hide to put in. And so they said that, and someone checked, and they confirmed there was nothing in her ears. But there's another part of me that is the skeptic side, like, okay, well, maybe so, but who's to say that this whole thing wasn't rehearsed ahead of time, and those random audience members are just paid actors pretending to make this seem real, and this is all just one big charade. I mean, you can't rule that possibility out, right? I mean, I feel like in a setting like that, where you're like at a con with a bunch of people in the audience, you could easily con members of the audience into thinking they're seeing something legit by having a group of people play along with making stuff up. So that's something that I'm definitely a little wary of. Like I said, I love the idea of like people having psychic abilities and exploring their internal world out to the external. And I mean, the fact that we can communicate with what are basically like blocks of like glass and rocks, like shooting electricity into the air and sending messages back on another piece of like glass and rock and electricity, is proof enough to me that if we can achieve that on like what is basic technology like an iPhone, who's to say we couldn't figure out how to do that completely on our own volition using just our minds? Like, I don't know, it just makes just as much sense to me, considering our brains use electricity and are extremely advanced, like, in terms of how they are designed and put together. So, and we usually use stuff that's outside of us as extensions of our bodies. So if we can do that with things like phones, then who's to say we can't do that with just our own brains? And I know this sounds kind of crazy because, I mean, psychic abilities, that sounds like the stuff of science fiction. But if it is true, that would be really interesting. And I would like to see that more explored and better understood in a more serious scientific field, because the best kind of proof is one where it's repeatable and redoable. Like, you can wax on about, oh, this is real, trust me, bro, but if you don't have repeatable evidence that I can do for myself to test whether your hypothesis is legit, as far as I'm concerned, it's just a magic show. So, there you go. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on that little psychic demonstration. I want to believe, but I don't know. Too many factors that have me go, you know. But anyways, yeah, I watched that on my lunch break. I had a really eclectic lunch. I had nachos with nacho cheese and barbacoa meat. I had a peanut butter, honey, and banana croissant sandwich. And then I had a coffee Haagen-Dazs ice cream bar on a stick. I went a little too crazy. I should have just stopped after the sandwich and left the stick on for later, but our family friend gave it to me and I just gobbled it like an ostrich. Yeah, not the best idea. Um yeah. I guess there's one interesting thing that happened at work today, and that's during my one of my sweeps, there was some nacho dip that fell on the floor in the back room, and it was in a glass container, and there was glass and nacho sauce in it everywhere. And I tried to put on like thick wash gloves so I could pick it up and throw it away in a trash bag. But somehow the glass punctured through the thick glove and into the side of my hand. I don't know if you can see it right there. Can you? Let's see. I don't know. There you go. There it is, right there. No, I gotta refocus it. There we go. So, yeah, that wasn't fun. It really hurt like heck. And the weird thing is, I was drawing the glove I put on, or washing it, the cheese dip off so I could see where it punctured. And when I was done washing it, and supposedly the punctured glove, when I took my hand off, my hand was dry as a bone. Like, even though there was clearly like damage on the skin and I could feel it. So I don't know, maybe it was just a really thin glass cut. Yeah. So yeah, I sprayed it with isopropyl alcohol and put a bandage on it. And those are pretty much the more interesting things that happened today, I guess you could say. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Well, anyways, I'm gonna go to bed now. I have a short shift tomorrow, only 4 hours, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Today I worked from 10 p.m. to 7 p.m. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.